Those of you who may remember, a few years back I did do a video talking about the albums that I had changed my mind on the most over the years. I went from like 2015 all the way to like 2019 or something like that, I think it was. It was good fun. People responded to it quite well, and there's always lots of different changes of opinion that you can discuss when it comes to music, because I feel like it's just a style of art, an art form that your opinion can just change drastically on, more so than you would with other art forms, really, because you're just exposed to music in a different kind of way, and opinions are ever growing, ever changing, ever shifting, and it's always good to keep people updated on where I'm at with albums that I never used to like, or whatever, vice versa. You get the drift, you get the idea. And it's always good when you're someone that documents your opinions pretty regularly online for many people to see, to update those opinions, especially when they're pretty significant albums and they have changed quite drastically or changed quite a bit. And they're all albums actually that have come out pretty recently as well, so I have done reviews on all of these albums at the time of release, and now it's just good to kind of just tell you, hey, actually I like these a bit more than I did initially. So there you go. Starting with a pretty obvious one. I say obvious because I think if you watch my Tyler the Creator Worst to Best video that came out not too long ago, you may know that in that video I did say Igor has grown on me a little bit. So, you know, a bit of a cheeky one here because I have already mentioned that, but just in case you haven't seen the video, and you bloody should, by the way, especially if you're a Tyler the Creator fan, what you're doing not watching that video if you're a Tyler fan, then, you know, just in case you haven't, here we go. Tyler Creator's Igor has grown on me. I got a lot of backlash for this review at the time. A lot of people were like, why do you not like this album? How can you not like it? It's so bright, it's so happy, it's so... and all these kinds of things. And I was always a bit confused with some of those things, because obviously the story, the narrative of the album isn't like the happiest thing in the world. But there are actually some really beautiful moments on this album that really shine through and stand out. And I still stand by some of my opinions on the vocals, because I do still think that the vocals at times get a bit much. And that's why the growth of this album isn't like gone from like, you know, me not liking it to me absolutely loving it, because it hasn't. It's grown on me to the point where I appreciate and respect what Tyler was doing on this album way more than I used to. I enjoy some of the tracks a lot more than I used to as well, particularly New Magic Wand. I think that's a really creative, weird little experiment that he went on with there. I always liked, I think, but I absolutely love that track now. I've played that so much this year just alone. That I really, really adore that track. I think that's a really, really pretty song. And yeah, I think the narrative... well, I never really had an issue with the narrative, actually. I just thought the storytelling, the arc, the angle that Tyler was coming from, the sort of idea that he came through with on that album was really, really cool, and had a lot of interesting sort of approaches to a topic that we have heard before, but I think he really put a lot of effort into that side of the album, and I've always appreciated that. So in terms of how it sounds, I definitely like it more now. I appreciate it more now, and just enjoy it more too. Like, there are some really, really good tracks. It's quirky, it's odd, and honestly, the response that this album got, despite the fact that the vocals are a little weird at times and pretty hard to get through in places, you know, especially for someone who didn't like it initially, the response is actually kind of remarkable. Like, this isn't a really conventional album by any means, I don't think, especially in the way it sounds. So yeah, the fact that it is so beloved, it won a Grammy, it's, you know, commercially done well, it's one of the highest rated albums ever on Rate Your Music, is that all these things are actually pretty impressive. I don't think it's his best, and, you know, spoiler for the video that I've already done, but yeah, I think it's really cool. It's really incredible what a live performance can do. The amount of times I've come away from a live show and had a newfound love for a specific song or a specific album, or just appreciated the songs I didn't like as much more. I've lost count. It's happened so many goddamn times. And Caroline Polachek is just the latest addition to that. Again, another album review that I did that got a lot of backlash. I don't have as many album reviews on this channel anymore that get that much backlash. It's kind of funny looking back at like 2018, 2019-ish, and seeing the backlash that I did get, because I obviously don't do as many reviews on this channel now, as you've probably noticed. Not that I've completely stopped, but they're just not as frequent. And it is kind of funny looking back at some of the comments that I used to get, because man, people go crazy. And I will say Pang, again, similar to Igor, I don't love it now. I just like it a lot more, and my god, I appreciate some of these tracks a lot more. And again, I think seeing her live really helped develop my feelings toward this album in a greater way, because tracks like Door, I mean, I don't know what I was on at the time, but I don't know where the appreciation was for this song. It just wasn't there, and for some reason now I just absolutely love it. Tracks like Oceans of Tears as well. Hit Me Where It Hurts was always a track I liked. I still think there are some airy, fairy moments that I think she could fill a bit more, because there's a lot of empty space on this album that's focusing a little bit more on her vocals and the atmosphere of the tracks, and that's really nice. Like I say, it has grown on me, but some of the aspects that I didn't like as much before still are there, and I think she could have filled them with a bit more of a pop, you know, or a bit more instrumentation that just made the tracks come to life, which she did exactly that on the next album. So yeah, as much as I have grown to like this album, I actually think all of the qualities that were great to begin with have been improved on, and all the things I wanted her to improve on have been improved on as well. So yeah, it's certainly not as good as Desire, but wow, really appreciate what she was going for on this album. And the fact that, you know, you do get a lot of the vocals being highlighted isn't a bad thing really, because she has a spectacular voice and it doesn't let you down when you see her live too. She's easily one of the best vocalists in pop working right now. I've said this already, I'll keep saying it. And yeah, Pang, I was harsh on it at the time. I think I've grown to really like what she was doing on that one. This one's gone quite a jump really. I gave this like a 4 or 4.5 at the time of reviewing, and again, a lot of backlash. I think this album change is really just a drastic one in terms of how I view trap music now, because there was a time where I absolutely hated a lot of the artists that were coming through in trap, in the mainstream, even in the underground too. There was very little appreciation for artists like Playboi Carti when they first came out for me. It's taken a long time for me to kind of realise that those artists have a lot of qualities that are really interesting and really cool and really just catchy and fun. Like, that's kind of the base of it really. That's kind of the general gist of it really. I think if you can just embrace the fact that the lyrics at times aren't very good, you're just going to get into the music and just enjoy the atmosphere for what it's attempting to create, because trap music can create a really cool atmosphere. So yeah, I've gone from not liking trap at all to really liking it, and I did an essential trap albums video not too long ago as well. So this one really was just kind of a natural progression. It was always one that I hadn't been back to for ages, and I was like, I know for a fact the minute I play this again with a new mentality, a new approach to listening to trap music, and not being as dismissive as I once was, because I was super dismissive, I just knew I was actually just going to come out of this album thinking it was good, and it's exactly what's happened. It's gone from like a 4 to something that I actually really like. Not quite something I love though. I still think, again, when we're looking at the artist's discography as a whole, which seems to be a common theme for all of these artists so far, you know, I still would take Rodeo over it. But yeah, Astro World is definitely way better than I gave it credit for. I was kind of on some crazy shit saying that was a bad album. But with this one, it's more just my general change of opinion towards the genre rather than it is Travis Scott as an artist. I don't really know what I was smoking at that time, but nothing in this realm sat well with me at all. I just said no to it all. Every artist that was sounding similar to this, I just didn't like. So I'm kind of glad we're 5 years down the line looking back at this kind of music and thinking, yeah, you know what, I've changed as a person a lot. I just think this is a lot better than it was. So that's where this one is really. 'Cause it might have been something used to say, does it help to... General rule, I did always like Tame Impala, but it was just one of those things where anytime an album came out, I just couldn't get into the full album, and I always ended up liking like 2 or 3 tracks, playing them to death, and then the rest of the album just not really being for me at all. But actually that's changed quite a bit. Even Currents, I could mention Currents in this video as well, really. But the one I wanted to focus more on is the Slow Rush, because that jump has shifted quite a bit. And I actually think now that Slow Rush is Tame Impala's best album. So this is why I wanted to mention this one rather than mentioning Currents. I still think there are elements to both that are a bit weaker, and some of the tracks don't stand out as some of the best moments. But yeah, I've gone from thinking that Tame Impala wasn't quite as good at albums as they were singles to actually thinking that the albums are really enjoyable and really chill and just kind of like, I guess, sort of like that typical like student-y, like gonna listen to some Tame Impala with my friends and get high. Like, they have that reputation to them, but actually if you don't listen to it in that context, you can appreciate what they're doing. And I think with that mentality again shifting for me and being a bit less on the snobbier side, I've just kind of grown to appreciate this style of music a little bit more. And yeah, this album for sure has grown on me a lot. I mean, Is It True? What a bop that is. That track is like crack. Just so addictive. When you play that track, you just want to keep playing it over and over again. What a song that is. Borderline's pretty fun too. Lost in Yesterday, that's one of Tame Impala's best tracks ever too. What a track that is. And yeah, just grown to like and appreciate what this album is going for a lot more. I always found aspects of it quite boring. I think Kevin's voice sometimes gets washed in the mix of the track, and it just always lost me when it hit those points. But I've actually started to vibe with the style a little bit more as time's gone on. And yeah, I think it's a really cool album. So there we go. This one is another grower. And finally, one that I've just kind of began to embrace a bit more as just one that's really just full of bangers, and it is what it says on the tin. It isn't meant to be anything more than Denzel just going really hard over some smashing, crashing, clanging, banging, douchey beats, and he's just having a fun time with it. And honestly now, again, with Tame Impala, this for me might just be his best one, because I think his other albums, he's trying a bit too hard to weave in concepts and weave in all of these different kind of lyrical ideas, and I don't think Denzel's at that level yet. Maybe he could get there one day, but I don't think he's quite at the level for making an album like that. And I think that's why, Taboo drops for me, because I think the concept kind of gets all a bit messy. And then his most recent one as well, I like some of the aspects of it too, but the more serious side of things I don't think is quite as good. And then you've got the complete opposite end of the scale, where he's just like doing songs from like Unlocked, where he's not writing any lyrics down, and he is just really highlighting how bad of a lyricist he is. Whereas this album for me is just kind of a combination of those qualities, or lesser qualities if you will, and he's just kind of embracing the fact that he knows how to go hard over some beats. Lyrically, nothing really special on this album at all, and again, some of the tracks probably could do with a few rewrites, but it's not quite him freestyling every track, and it's not quite him going a bit too hard with some of the concepts and blah-de-blah-de-blah, to the point where, some of the lyrics come out really corny like he does on albums like Taboo. So it's a good mix of just what he knows he's good at and not taking himself too seriously, but also putting a bit of effort into the lyrics as well. I'm probably waffling a lot here. I have my qualms with Denzel's discography and often think he's underselling himself quite a bit. He's like that kind of he's like a footballer who clearly has all of the levels and the abilities to be one of the best players in their team or in the league or whatever, and they're just not quite putting in that effort in, and they just end up falling by the wayside, a Paul Pogba, if you will, I suppose. But yeah, Denzel is that kind of rapper for me, where it's like there's just something there, and he could put out one of the best albums, in the current era, and he just never quite has for me. And I think I've grown to just embrace the fact that actually Zoo is just bangers. It's just bangers. It's just a lot of fun. And they are the 5 albums that I wanted to mention. Hopefully you got where I was coming from with this. I do worry that I was waffling a little bit in places there. Hopefully you understand what I mean. Hopefully you agree with some of the things I was saying. And hopefully you're happy to see that all of these albums are beloved, and I am now starting to see why they're beloved, because at the time of the reviews, no, I did not get it. But we change, we grow, we see things in a different way, our opinions develop, the I guess perspectives we have change as years go by, and the more music you hear, the more sort of different feelings you have towards different things. And I think this is where we're at now with these albums. Thank you for watching. Do have a good day. Subscribe if you haven't already. Please check out my Patreon as well. That would be amazing to see more support over on there. At least make sure you're subscribing though, to check out more videos in the future. Have a good day and goodbye.